Thank you. Please be seated. Prefect joke of the day. What did Adam say on the day before Christmas? It's Christmas Eve.
Sam, I think you're so caught up with your joke there, you forgot to say what the hymn was. It's hymn number 5, Jerusalem. I think that's the Kay's House hymn. Please stand. Let's do that again. Hold on, Tricia. Please sit. And when we stand, we do it in silence as the organ fires up, and then we deliver. So, please stand.
Please be seated. I like it. What is Mr. Murdy doing in a tie and jacket today? Many of you may be asking yourselves. So today is our sport colors. It's the first recognition assembly that we do for the year. We do recognition assemblies in a variety of different areas of the school with fine art, academics, and today being the first for the sport side of the school. For myself and for many here, it's a big day. It's an important day for many reasons. It's great to be able to recognize individuals for their accomplishments, to recognize teams for their accomplishments as a group and achieving of many of their goals. But I think more importantly, it's just a recognition of how important sport is to us as a school. And it's important for a variety of reasons, but most importantly, whether you're in a competitive or a non-competitive activity, it takes a bit of courage. For many of you, sport isn't necessarily your cup of tea, and it's a difficult thing to put yourselves out there. So it might just be as simple as going to a fitness class, but if you're not, or you don't view yourself as a sporty person or a fit person, that can be challenging, that can be a bit intimidating. So that takes courage. For those that go onto the competitive fronts, that takes great courage to put yourselves out there and to compete and to challenge yourselves versus other athletes from other schools. So there's a lot of lessons that you can take from those experiences that are going to help you be successful later in life. And that's the main reason why we put such value into sport here. It's not just to keep you busy, but it's to help you learn about yourselves and about competition. So this morning, as I said, it's our sport colors. We have two different types of colors. We have junior colors, where the junior athletes in grade 10 receive a pin. They need to get nominations from 2 different seasons of play. So today will be their first nomination. So as I read out their names, if they could please stand, and we'll do them in 2 different groups because there's a number of them. And then as a group, we'll give them a nice round of applause to recognize them. And then with the seniors, they receive their colors. So seniors receive them as grade 12s. They will come up and receive a tie from the headmaster. With the senior award, it's a little bit different because you can receive your colors in each term. So it is possible for our more committed and our athletes that are a little more competitive to receive both double and triple colors as well. It's a rarity for somebody to receive triple colors, but it does happen 2 or 3 times each year. So that will be in a moment or two. Last year, we started a new tradition with a guest speaker to share their story with sport and how it has impacted their lives and just their journey as a young person. So today, our guest speaker is our headmaster. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Lamont.
I asked for us to start with the Kay's House hymn, Jerusalem, this morning, given it evokes the film Chariots of Fire and track and field events from the 1924 Olympics in Paris, and have asked that we finish this morning with Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah, a hymn alongside Callan Lan strongly associated with Welsh rugby, and which our boys rugby players on tour in March will hear delivered passionately and thunderously in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff for the Wales versus Scotland Six Nations game. The Scots will answer with a rousing Flower of Scotland. I wonder if a few of you know the history of rugby as a sport. Tempted to ask one of the first 15 in the front row, but I'll resist. In 1823, a schoolboy, William Webb Ellis, at rugby school in England, is said to have shown a fine disregard for the rules of soccer as played at the time, by picking up the ball and running to the opponents. The Rugby World Cup trophy is named after this schoolboy and the birth of the game, the Webb Ellis Cup. A Shawnigan team played at rugby school, the home of rugby the sport, at their International Rugby Sevens tournament in 2017 as part of that school's 450th anniversary. Other schools in England created their own sports in the 18th and 19th centuries. The field game and the wall game at Eton, Harrow football. The boarding school I attended was founded in 1382 and invented its own game in the late 17th century. It was originally played down the length of College Street near the cathedral, with each team trying to move a ball, a soccer-shaped ball, from one end to the other with no rules, a rather chaotic and somewhat violent game for schoolboys. The game was then moved to the top of a local hill above the water meadows. The walls of the street were replaced with grades 8 and 9 lining the sides of the grassy pitch, forming parallel walls to keep the ball in play. And inevitably, there were injuries, with rogue balls being kicked into the spectating juniors. By the time I was there, the game had evolved into an inter-house tournament with different sized teams. Winchester College football was our main sport in Term 2, preceded by soccer in Term 1 and cricket in Term 3, and was compulsory for all. Last year, I spent a lunchtime trying firstly to persuade Miss Russell that the sport existed, and secondly, trying to explain the rules. So here goes. I shall try to conjure up an image of it for you. During the term, we specialized in 3 different forms of the sport: 15, then 10, then 6-a-side. A pitch, called a canvas, is approximately 80 meters long and 15 meters wide, and is flanked on either side by 2.5-meter high netting designed to keep the ball in play. A meter inside the netting and running parallel to it is a 1-meter tug-of-war rope running taut at waist height for the length of the pitch, with its tension maintained by sturdy posts at intervals. I remember well one student in my year, a huge rower, accidentally kicking one of the posts instead of the ball and breaking his leg on impact. We often came off the pitch with rope burns, a sign of fierce rucking over the ropes. The pitches were level with a river and a floodplain, and we often played on a surface which lacked grass and was uneven, muddy, and with large pools of standing water, and sometimes partially flooded. I remember one teammate kicking the ball in a huge pool of water with all his power and not moving it an inch. He was promptly mown over by the opposing and advancing team and left horizontal and completely saturated. At the school, we had to learn a medieval slang language called notions. Here at Shawnigan, we expect new students to learn the words of your respective house hymn. At my school, we were tested on this extensive vocab. My bicycle was a bogle. Prep was toy time. Our sports tops were called zephyrs. To be rusticated was to be suspended. And no, if you're wondering, I wasn't. And to be firked was to be expelled. I was often called spree for being a very cheeky grade 8. Of course, the sport we all played had its own associated language. The scrum was called a hot, the scrum halves were hot watchers, and the fullbacks, my position, were kicks. The aim of the game was to kick the soccer ball into worms, the area behind the back line of the opposition. Occasionally, if a player caught the ball without it bouncing, he could then kick it back to gain territory. This type of return, much like a punt as a goalkeeper does in soccer, was called a bust. The hooker's position was called OP. I never knew what it officially stood for, but imagined it stood for horrible position, given you were often scrummaging over what seemed like a lake. We played it fanatically. It was deeply tribal as houses played each other throughout the term, and we loved it. Friendships were forged, historical rivalries continued, and we became increasingly fit as we moved to six-a-side mode in the second half of term. It never struck me, nor any of my friends, that no one else played it beyond the school. Every so often, an apocryphal rumor would circulate that there was still a small colonial outpost of a village in South Africa, lost in time, where it was still played, and that a tour might be put together. When out dog walking here at Shawnigan, I sometimes eye the uneven piece of grass by the observatory and think it would make an excellent place for a pitch. Of course, university came as a shock. My greatest love was for cricket, and I had always enjoyed the minor game of field hockey, but I had absolutely no experience of rugby. As an undergraduate, I loved watching my friends play rugby and would spend hours throwing and kicking a ball around on the touchline, but lacked the courage to step forward for this new sport, this new challenge. I knew I could run, catch, pass, kick, but was utterly untrained, clueless, and a complete liability. However, as a postgraduate, I ended up in a college at a different university, which happened to be one of the two main feeder colleges for the varsity rugby team. Postgraduate students from all over the world came to win their colours, a blue, by playing in a historic match between two universities. The inter-college competition was fiercely contested. My friends in my college persuaded me that I had to swap my cricket whites for rugby cleats. Of course, I wasn't destined to play fullback, as I hoped. He was the captain of the All Blacks under-21 team, with his brother as number 8 for the All Blacks. I found myself, given my height for the lineouts, unsurprisingly thrust into life in the second row. My friends still tease me about my first game against Christ College. I decided that I vainly needed to tape up my head, and specifically my ears, given the prevalence of cauliflower ears in the rest of our team. Inexperienced, I managed to strap the tape too low and had limited vision for the match. My partner in the second row was a 50-year-old former British Lions rugby player, and then the current indoor rowing world record holder. Back in 1998, this might mean something to the rowers, he could do 2,000 meters in 6 minutes and 7 seconds. His name was Andy Ripley. I remember very well a game against St. John's College on a very wet and slippery pitch. He decided we needed a second row warm-up in the form of a one-on-one scrum. From the moment we scrummed down, I remember being propelled backwards at top speed and was saved from complete humiliation by the base of a giant oak tree. Our team was full of talented rugby players, from Wales to the Southern Hemisphere, and then me. My job was simply to catch the ball in the line-out, push in the scrum, and ensure at all costs that I gave the ball immediately to someone much more experienced and talented in the team. It helped that one of our players was a future All Black centre and Super 12 champion with the Canterbury Crusaders. He was simply unstoppable. I loved every minute of it, and it gave me a love of the game and some unforgettable memories and friendships. If you ever visit my study in my house, you will find a couple of framed photos of that team. I was proud to be one of them. Some of you might have noticed that I always wear a certain tie every Thursday, and I'm sporting it today. It's a long-standing tradition of the Owls, the sports club of my college. Every time I put on my sports tie, my colours each week, it connects me to that world, those friendships forged through sport. In a few minutes, we shall present Shawnigan colours to those who have been deemed by their coaches to be deserving of this honour. This morning is about recognising the commitment and attitude of our students who have won their colours in field hockey, volleyball, cross-country, soccer, the outdoors programme, dance and swimming. I hope that you wear the pin or tie with pride, and in the decades ahead, your colours, in a drawer or on a shelf somewhere, connect you back to friendships forged through sport and the team dynamic. I've so enjoyed watching from the sidelines, the progress teams have made through the course of the term, the acts of sportsmanship that defines individuals and teams at Shawnigan, and the dedication of your coaches. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to show your appreciation to your Shawnigan coaches. Please give them a round of applause. Mrs. Conroy promised me that she would try to watch this live in Zimbabwe. Yesterday, they had no electricity for 15 hours, so fingers crossed. Mr. Connolly gave me an essay recently about C.W. Lonsdale he wrote for our centennial celebrations. In it, he recounts the favourite memory of Shawnigan's Pat Gaffney, class of 1953. In my third year, I had made the second 15, and we were playing university school. We were within 3 points. I was playing fullback. The university school wing broke free on the outside, and I was the last one to have a crack at him. I knocked him out of bounds with probably the hardest tackle of my rugby career. And Rennie Edgett, who was a member of the first 15 and in my house, ran down the sideline shouting, "Way to go, Gaffney." I'd always felt inferior to Edgett, but that was the turning point. I had finally proved myself. We went on to win that game. The Shawnigan second 15 beat University School for the first time in years, and that tackle was the turning point for me. I'll never forget Edgett running along the sideline, shouting, "Way to go, Gaffney." As headmaster, I like to think that the description captures the essence of sport at whatever level and whatever sport. In my case, a sport that no other school in the world plays. The unique memories, the friendships, the laughter, the hope, the pride, and in the spirit of Gaffney and Edgett, the turning points it generates for us all. I hope that all of you here today, students and staff, can take a moment to reflect on the term gone by and the impact Shawnigan sport has made on your life and the lives of others. Parmam ki merit ferret.
Thank you. Ms. Robb, can you please join me to help with presenting the ties? And if the headmaster can join us as well. The first names we're going to read out will be the junior nominees. And again, they'll just be asked to stand. So we'll do them in two groups. And just before I do that, just a quick hello to Mrs. Conroy, if she is watching, I hope so. We all miss you, and we look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully. And just for the ice hockey players, male and female, in the competitive program, just a quick explanation. Your season of play is still ongoing, so it's just not appropriate to give you sport awards as you're in mid-season. So you will be recognized appropriately at the end of your season with the Term 2 Sport Awards. So moving into our junior nominations, so this is their first nomination. In junior field hockey, Catherine Ash, McKinley Bourne, so if you could please stand. Kylene Russell, Erica Hershen, Anna Palmer, Alan Shen, Michaela Rush, Sarah Dryden, Haruka Agawa, and Sarah Hill, if they can all please stand. Thank you. We're going to do a couple of different groups here. So first of all, from junior outdoors, Dominic Skelcher, junior cross country, Victoria Key and Christy Liu, junior soccer, James Bryant, Gavin Croft, Max Heward, and Lucas Clausen, if they could all please stand. And then our final group from junior squash, Austin Ding, Forrest Holt, Kai Lee, Isaac Chung, Tina Zian, Canon Goda, if they can all please stand. Now we're going to be moving into our senior athletic ties. So these athletes, when your name's called, if you could please come forward and receive your tie from the headmaster. For senior volleyball, Katie Petropoulos, Reed Samuels, Phoebe Stobart. From senior soccer, Imran Kamrali, Sam Addison, Hiroki Nakayama, Benedict Weinborner. Swimming, Michael Ralph, Bridget Person, Georgia Hall, Hallie Bryant, and cross country, Moira McHugh. Just a quick explanation. Ben is a grade 11 student, and he's the only grade 11 student this morning receiving his senior colors. He's a one-year exchange student from Germany, and given his contributions to soccer, his coaches and the athletic coaches, when we met to award the colors at our meeting, decided that he was a more than deserving recipient and wouldn't be here next year, so we wanted to make sure that he did receive his colors. So that's the explanation for Ben, and well done. Moving into our next group, the first group that I'm going to introduce is the senior field hockey girls. Before I call out their names, a couple of points. First of all, I just want to congratulate them again for such an outstanding season. They finished second in the province, winning the silver medal at the Provincial AA Championships, as well as the silver medal at the ISA Championships, losing both times to the same team, a very talented side from West Vancouver, Collingwood. The girls were outstanding ambassadors of the school, and they were outstanding competitors, and we should all be very proud of the way they represented us. Along with that group, I'd just like to quickly mention an honorable mention for the grade 11s in that team. There was some discussion at our colors meeting as to whether we should award all of the grade 11s in that side colors as well. However, we felt that we would stick with the tradition of waiting until grade 12. So you girls, well done in grade 11, stick at it, and hopefully you'll receive your colors next year. Receiving their senior athletic colors from senior field hockey, Berkeley Anderson, Nicole Cherry, Sammy Lillywhite, Melanie Bristol, come on up girls please, Sophie Miranda, Brooke Beckingham, Michaela Brennan McCann, Sydney Hall, Milena Jojcic, Abigail Kay, Nicole Lavin, Chloe Story Soth. From senior dance, Nicole Waldner Thorne, Spencer Nasralla, Kathleen Hidley, and Kylie Kim.
Can't control it, she's hugging everyone.
So thank you to everybody here, and congratulations to all the recipients of their colors, and the junior nomination winners, congratulations as well. And hopefully you will receive a second nomination in either the second or third term. Just again, as the headmaster did, I would like us all just one more time to thank all of the coaches for their time and efforts that they've shared with you during term one sport. So if you can just join me giving them a nice round of applause.
Thanks, Mr. Murdy, for your coordinating of our colours. We're going to finish with, and we're going to stand in silence, and we're going to absolutely deliver this at full volume to sort of as our springboard into the day. It's going to be hymn number 12, Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah. Let's make sure Mrs. Conroy can hear you from here to Zimbabwe. Please stand.